Hi guys, welcome back. Today I used the Spook palette from Gourmand Girls to do today's eyeshadow look. I also brought in one other palette because I was desperately trying to just create what I had envisioned. It didn't work, but I think the look is pretty, and if you're curious about how I got there, then stick around. Today I want to play with red and orange eyeshadow. I think I'm doing like a red and blending it out with orange, and then I want to use a red shimmer. But it turns out that I don't actually have a lot of options when it comes to red shimmers within my collection. So I pulled out a handful of palettes, then I put most of them away, and the ones I'm left with are these three. Let me tell you what my thoughts are. I think that most of today's look is going to be from the Spooked palette from Gourmand Girls. It's great quality. I haven't played with it recently. And I'm thinking this would be a good fit because I've got the red, the orange, a deepening shade that's black. I can mix this white with either of those colors to go even lighter. And it does have this shade right here, which is really interesting. And I really want to play with it. I have not played with this one yet. It's called Pumpkin. It's kind of a reddy, pinky, orangey sort of shimmer, but more reddy orange than pink. By the way, I apologize for my lighting. I know it's kind of dim today. It is very, very overcast. It's raining. There are thunderstorms, and I'm working in front of just a window. So I can't do anything about the lighting. Hopefully it won't be unpleasant for you guys to watch, but I'm trying. You know, you cannot control the weather, and my toddler broke my ring light. I have a palette pull-in, Margarita from Glamlight. I'm not going to be using this today because this is my palette pull-in, and that is not what's happening today. But as far as other red shimmers, I pulled out the Little Mermaid palette from Sigma because there's this one right here, which is definitely more brown leaning, but it's multi-chromatic. It's quite a brown, rusty red sort of shade, so that one might happen. I also pulled out the Betty Boop palette from Glamlight, and this one is surprisingly unred. There are very few real red tones in here, but the one that's red, or the two, this is a red shimmer, and it's a very red shimmer, but it definitely has more of a pink angle, and I don't think that it's gonna work because I don't really want to lean pink today. I'm not sure. I'm actually surprised that when it comes to red shimmers, I couldn't find one that was like, yes, that's what I want to use. I mean, unless I'm just missing something from my collection. I didn't look through every palette. I just looked at my palettes and went, well, this has a red shimmer. So unless I'm just missing one that I didn't open, I can't think of one. Anyway, I will have fun working with what I have. So I'll prime my eyes with the Glamlight Icing Primer, and everything I use is linked in the description box. You know, I think I messed with my hair, my headband, like 6 times. It's the sort of hairstyle, or maybe just the sort of day where it doesn't matter what you do, it's not cooperating, and so at some point I just gave up. With the Blend Bunny B5, I'm going into the Spooked palette and taking the shade Terror. And I'm going to start in lightly because I remember it being quite pigmented. I'm sorry, this lighting is so much less than ideal. That's a lovely red, although I'm having trouble seeing it. Now a Singe EO1, I'm going to take Haunted. Yeah, Haunted. Wait, that's not the right brush. A Singe EO5. Haunted, still within Spooked, and I'm going to lay this here. This is what I'm using to blend out the red. Do you guys have palettes from Gourmand Girls? I actually have a code with Gourmand Girls. It is the code SHIMMERS. It will save you 10% off your order. It is affiliated, the only affiliated code that I have out of 2. And if you care to order anything from the brand, you can get a few dollars off with that. But there are also lots and lots of codes out there. Just see if you can save a little bit of money. I'm a budget shopper, if nothing else. Anyway, tell me if you have anything from Gourmand Girls. I only have Spooked and Haunted from them. I really wanted Nightshade, but I couldn't find it for my price point. And then finally, I kind of figured like Haunted and Nightshade are similar. They're not the same. They definitely have some very big differences, but they were similar enough that I felt like I didn't need both. I'm just spreading this Terror shade more on the lid. I just was really feeling red today. Anyway, it's a nice formula, and I felt like Haunted and Spooked were just, not Spooked, Haunted and Nightshade were a little bit too close that I didn't need both. Now, they have released a few new palettes, although, you know, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, I'm not as up to date on palette releases as I used to be, but I know they had the Bitten palette. There was another one. Oh, the Snow Angel, really lovely, wintertime sort of thing, very pretty. They had the Bitten, I think it was called Bitten. It was purples and burgundies and wines, very pretty, a little more monochromatic. Tell me if you have any palettes from Gourmand Girls and what you think of them. Let's go into Ghoul. I want to lighten this inner corner and really just throw this in the whole inner third or so here, because I love a matte inner corner. I love an inner corner highlight. I love a matte inner corner highlight. All of the things. I'll just fade this white. I don't want to fade it too much because then I'll get pink here where they meet, and I don't want pink. Now I will take a smaller brush, smaller blending brush, and grab Spooky, which is the black matte. Just kind of lay down the shape that I want, and then blend the sides. Sides, edges, you know, blend it together, soften everything. Now let's talk about shimmers. Let's see. I'm gonna swatch this shade Soft Shell from Little Mermaid. And just for kicks, but with low expectations as far as working for today's look, I will swatch the shade Major Sass from Glamlight's Betty Boop palette. And then I'm gonna swatch this beautiful orangey ready shimmer called Pumpkin. Such a difference in the textures. So here's Soft Shell, not nearly as red as I thought. Here's Major Sass, just as pink as I expected it to be, and here's Pumpkin. I think part of my problem is that I've been seeing a lot of really striking multi-chromes and swatches and stuff on Instagram, and this is none of them. It's not that they're bad, they're just different, and they're not the color that I'm wanting today. Maybe the Glamlight, even though it's pinker than I thought, but this one's not nearly as red as I expected. I'm gonna go grab a few more palettes. I'll be right back. I mean, I have a bunch of palettes here, and I tore apart my collection. I'm not having any luck. I did pull out my singles palette, and I have a bunch of shimmers in here, but I looked in here earlier and I also didn't see anything that I thought would work. Like these are just from Simply Posh. Those are not really red. You know, it's funny. I think I mentioned before that I had won a small giveaway from Terra Moons, and one of their bundles was filled with really, really reddy orange shimmers. And I thought, no, I don't think I'd use that enough. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is I had the option to get some really intense red shimmers, and I didn't. So this is pretty much what I've got to work with today. So I think I will take this one, surprisingly, from the Glamlight palette. Maybe I'll add, I'm not sure. Let's start there. All right, let's start off with the shade Major Sass from Glamlight's Betty Boop palette. It's so much pinker than I want. Okay. It's fine. I will take Classy Chic, which is also in Betty Boop, and kind of lay that over top, seeing if I can... I mean, don't get me wrong, it's pretty. It's just not what I want. Now I'm going to go into Pumpkin in Spooked, and again, see if I can just warm this up a little bit. At this point, I feel like I need an orange shimmer to counteract that pinkness. Oh my. It's okay. It just looks so pink. It looks so pink. Let me go back into one of my blending brushes. It doesn't really matter which. And I will pick up Haunted again, which is the orange matte that I was using, and just try to bring a Obnoxious Neighbors. I'm trying to bring a bit more warmth to the look, and I'm definitely overlapping this pinky red shimmer. So, all right, dipping into Spirit. That's a lot more orangey gold. Let me just mess it into this space. Yes, to mess it. It's a new verb, to mess it. Ah, okay, that's better though. It took care of the pink, I think, pretty well. I'm gonna have to remember what on earth I did to try to match the other side. I mean, none of this is ugly. I think they're all pretty. Each new iteration, new shimmer I add in, it's just not what I wanted, you know? But if I actually don't own what I want, then I have to make do or make adjustments. All right, final details. In my waterline, I put black. It felt safe and also kind of grounded things a bit, made me feel a little more moody. I've been wearing on my lips this glowing lip from ColourPop. The shade is all worn off, but this one is called Desert Aura. I have mascara on, and then on my face, I'm wearing a little bit of blush from Unearthly's Spring Magic palette. I combined these two, and I have a bit of highlighter from ABH Aurora Glow Kit. I combined these two. So that's everything else. I did not use anything from Little Mermaid. I did not use my palette pull-in because that 100% was not going to work. And that's the whole look. So, you know, at the end of the day, as I said throughout all of these steps, I don't think it's a bad combination. I don't think it's a bad look. I like the look, but I really struggled to get exactly the color I was looking for, which was interesting because usually I feel like I can make it work. But I mean, I used 4 shimmers. I have 2 here and 2 here, and then I put matte on top of the shimmer, trying to get it to be the color I was looking for or envisioning, and I never really landed on it. I still like the finished effect though. I would love to hear your thoughts, of course. Tell me if you ever encounter this problem where you have something very specific in your mind and you just don't have the tools or don't have the resources to make it happen. So you're either trying to, you know, build a bridge or get a band-aid and sort of, okay, I guess this will have to do, you know, settling for something, or if you just change your mind entirely and do something else, or if you're content with it being close to what you were looking for, even if it's not quite there. I'd love to hear your feedback and perspective. I do have a Gourmand Girls playlist, so I'll link that in the description box if you're curious to see other Gourmand Girls looks and palettes that I can feature. Thank you so much for being here. Perhaps you'll like today's content and consider liking and subscribing before you go if you want to see more videos like this, and I will chat with you next time.